the Divorced Girl Smiling Podcast with your host, Jackie Pilosoff.
No one should have to go through a divorce feeling alone and isolated. That's why I created the Divorced Girl Smiling Podcast. Every show is 30 minutes, and the guests are my Divorced Girl Smiling trusted professionals. They're so wonderful. Financial advisors, divorce attorneys, mediators, divorce coaches, therapists, and more. We talk about every subject that you can even think of having to do with divorce. The podcast is meant to empower you and inspire you and make you feel really, really confident so that you can have a good divorce outcome and a great post-divorce life. You can find the Divorced Girl Smiling Podcast pretty much anywhere podcasts can be found, and always at divorcedgirlsmiling.com. So grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine and start smiling. Before we get started, I want to tell you about two Divorced Girl Smiling trusted professionals. They're both divorce attorneys and they're in different states. The first one is Catherine Becker Good, a divorce attorney and the founder of the Law Office of Catherine Becker Good in Massachusetts. She has been practicing divorce law for over 30 years. And what I love about Catherine is she's extremely professional, very calm, probably great under pressure. She, though, is extremely warm and compassionate, so you're really going to feel heard with Catherine. She's smart, she's trustworthy, and I would highly recommend her. If you want to learn more, you can find Catherine on her website, which is cbgoodlaw.com. I also want to talk about Sandra Fava, who is the founder and managing attorney at Fava Law in New Jersey. Sandra has been a divorce attorney for over 20 years, and it's her ability to provide clear, practical advice and at the same time offer unwavering support through such a challenging time. Sandra has been so successful as a divorce attorney and she's really well respected. If you want to learn more about Sandra, go to favalawNJ.com. And you can find out more about both Catherine and Sandra in the Trusted Professional section of Divorced Girl Smiling. I am someone who did not get married until I was 35 years old. I then got divorced at 41. So I dated and went through relationships and breakups until I was 35, and then again from 41 until 49 when I met my now spouse. My point in telling you my love life history is that I have experienced so many breakups that were so heartbreaking that my whole body hurt and my heart was literally breaking. And if you're listening to this and you're in this position, this is a wonderful podcast for you to listen to. My guest is Jenine Marie Powell, and Jenine is a divorce coach who is also divorced and has also been through multiple breakups in her life. And we're going to break this down for you, no pun intended. We're going to talk about some of those raw emotions that people feel at the beginning of a breakup and then how to cope. So hi, Jenine.
Hi, Jackie. Yeah, our situations were similar. I too experienced a divorce at 41 in my early 40s and was not expecting that whirlwind of emotions.
And it doesn't get any easier. Whether you're 18 and you break up, or you're 40 and you break up, or you're 50 or 60, it's those same feelings and it's heartbreaking. And I see people who can't get over it and I see their pain and I feel for them. Okay, let's just jump right in. So maybe to give the audience a reference, tell me your dating love life history. How long were you single after you got divorced? And did you go through a lot of breakups?
There were enough to, and it was just such a different world, right? For me, beginning to date in my 40s versus the last time I dated was in my 20s, and not knowing what to expect and not knowing who to believe. And sometimes when you come out of a difficult marriage or a tough breakup, you lose your sense of trust, right? Who can I trust? Who's telling me the truth? Can I trust myself? All right. Sometimes myself and a lot of people I work with, we wonder about our own judgment, right? If I misjudged this person who I chose as my spouse, how likely am I to misjudge the next person I'm dating? So I think we have to really get in tune with ourselves and have some self-awareness and get also really clear on what we're looking for in future partners.
Absolutely. Okay. So this is the Divorce Girl Smiling podcast. So obviously, people listening to it are either getting divorced, thinking about it, or already divorced. And so the first emotion that I'm going to talk about might not apply to everybody because it's shock. And if you're in a marriage, I don't believe that like you just suddenly, decided you were breaking up and that was it, which happens in relationships. But when you're married, it's different.
Mhm.
But then I'm sure you have a lot of clients who have come to you and said, I was blindsided. I had no idea my husband wanted a divorce. He came to me and said, I'm leaving. And it was the biggest shock. Tell
Yeah.
me about shock.
Yeah. Well, I think it's more common than we realize. And going back to what you originally said, typically studies show that people think about divorce for about 5 years before they actually get the courage to say, I want a divorce or to proceed with the divorce, right? So usually it's in the back of somebody's mind for a while. It's not always this abrupt thing. It's more abrupt in instances where maybe somebody discovers an affair, that sometimes we're more blindsided. But with that being said, even if whether or not we're the one who initiated the divorce or whether or not we're the person who hears from our spouse that they want a divorce, either way, I think there's still an element of shock because even if you wanted it, even if you were planning for it, there's still that, oh my goodness, like I'm actually doing this. I'm actually going through with this, or the person actually said that word. And all of a sudden, it just becomes so real and that hits you a little bit differently, right? And then so even if we're prepared, it's like, oh no, what like there's a difference between when it actually happens, right? And then sometimes there's that shock of not knowing what to expect next, right? We assume, okay, maybe I'm out of this dysfunctional relationship. Now I'm going to be happy. And then we're shocked that we're not instantly happy, or we're shocked by what it's like all of a sudden to be single after being in a marriage for many years, or we're shocked that our family and friends don't support us maybe the way that we thought they would, or we're shocked that our spouse is already dating somebody else 2 weeks later. Like, so I think there's so many little surprises that we can't possibly brace ourselves for all of these little things that might start happening. We're rediscovering ourselves. We might be learning a whole bunch of new stuff about our spouse that we never recognized before. And there's that shock of, excuse me, to me, I think this is one of the most frightening shocks is that realization of my spouse isn't who I thought they were, right? I
Yeah,
didn't,
maybe even shock of even, I can't believe I want a divorce. I
yeah,
just can't even believe this is happening. And
right,
I
right.
remember being in the lawyer's office having a consult and I was crying and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm just so shocked that this is happening and this is making it real." And,
Yes.
couldn't deal.
Exactly. This is not what I had planned for my future, right? This wasn't the fairy tale I envisioned. So exactly, finding ourselves in shock that this is where we are now, right? That at this point in my life, I have to start over, or that my children are going to grow up in a household without both the mom and dad present. So there are so many huge adjustments. And again, I think it's one of those things, even if we try to prepare, we'll still be surprised.
All right, how do you cope? What advice would you give for
Yeah,
shock?
you know what? I think sometimes just slowing down a little bit, right? When we're in that state of shock, there's a lot of fear, right? Because all of a sudden we're things are like we're in a state of like destabilization, right? Nothing's certain anymore. That security, that stability is gone. So I think it's really important to kind of slow down, not act with urgency, to recognize that divorce is considered a major, major stressful life transition. Things aren't going to be better in a day. So take it slow, take it thoughtfully. I can't emphasize enough the importance of having supportive people around. It's not something you have to go through alone. There are so many incredible experts here at Divorce Girl Smiling. Build your divorce team, have a support network, really crucial. And self-care, I talk about this all the time. It sounds like common sense, but when we're in this state of shock, our whole nervous system kind of becomes dysregulated, right? So having some coping mechanisms, journaling, meditating, praying, doing yoga, getting fresh air, like things that can kind of calm our nervous system, listening to soothing music, lighting those candles. So important. And all the other really crucial elements of self-care. Try to get enough sleep, try to eat nourishing food, try to move your body, try to get that fresh air. That stuff can kind of bring the nervous system to a calmer place that helps us kind of deal, like you said, with the uncertainty and the shock.
Okay, so I love all your suggestions and you're right about it that fear is a big part of shock.
Mm, mhm,
I think that when you were saying, get the support, people assume every single person is like, well, I have a really good therapist and I'm in therapy because I'm getting divorced. I think that's great. But I
yes.
want to tell people that I would highly recommend divorce coaching. I cannot say this enough. People don't know what divorce coaches do. And before I got into this business, I didn't know either. When I got divorced in 2008, there were no divorce coaches. It wasn't a thing yet. Now,
Mhm,
Janine has been doing this for a long, long time. And I want to just tell people listening what divorce coaches do. And Janine's a divorce coach. She could help you. She sees people all over the country. It's not like you have to be in the same state like you do for therapy. And basically, it is a form of therapy, but it's very forward focused. It's a lot
mhm,
of decision making. It's a lot of figuring out what you want in the future, what you want your life to look like. Do you want to keep the house? Where do you see yourself in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? You might not know, but what coaching does is it helps you through it. A coach will ask questions like, are you making this decision out of anger for your ex, or do you really want this asset?
mhm.
Okay, so Janine, am I right? Am I
Yeah,
explaining?
I think you're spot on there, right? As a coach, I feel like my job is to provide help and hope to people who are going through this difficult life transition, to kind of go be on their side, by their side throughout this difficult life transition. And you really were spot on when you said it's the questions that we ask ourselves, right? When we're feeling very stuck, it's probably because we're asking ourselves the wrong questions. So when we can work with a coach, and if the coach has the right, toolbox with coaching questions that can help us have a shift, right? It's helping my clients it's not solving their problems, but helping them have a shift in the way they're thinking about their problems, which is key. And it's interesting because my background, you would think it's unrelated, but my background is in journalism. And in journalism, it was all about asking the right questions. And that's really what I have, taken into my coaching practice, asking the right questions to have my clients find solutions and think about problems, reframe things and think about problems in a different light.
And you know how you ask the right questions? By listening.
Yes.
I'm a journalism major also,
Mhm.
and I worked in the business. And one skill that I truly learned and that I've learned through this whole thing is the power of really listening. And when you listen, you know what questions to ask. And Janine, you are a
Yeah.
very good listener. I've actually gone to Janine for personal things and she's helped me. Remember the whole boundaries conversation we had?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay, we
exactly.
have to take a break. You're listening to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff, and I'm your host. I'm here today with Jenine Marie Powell, who is a certified divorce coach and the founder of her practice, SOS Divorce Coaching. You can find her at sosdivorcecoach.com or in the trusted professional section of Divorced Girl Smiling. Janine and I are talking about 9 things you might be feeling when you're going through your breakup. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we have 8 more things, so we'll be right back. I want to tell you about the safest, most valuable step you can take in your divorce. You know what it is? Sign up for the Divorced Girl Smiling free consult. Here's how it works. It's free, it's confidential. You basically sign up for a time. We talk, you tell me your story and your situation and your goals. I listen without judgment, and then I suggest top-notch divorce professionals who I think are a good fit for your situation. This can include divorce attorneys, mediators, divorce coaches, therapists, mortgage lenders, financial advisors, and more. And sometimes when I talk to people, they don't even know what they need, and that's where I come in and help. I've been doing this for a long time. I have no agenda here. Well, I do have an agenda, and what it is to connect really good, trustworthy, vetted professionals with people who need their help. If you want to learn more, go to divorcedgirlsmiling.com, click book a free consultation. I also want to tell you about a wonderful divorce lawyer in Chicago and the suburbs named Liz Felt Wakeman. I have known Liz for many, many years, but we just got to be friendly and we just started really getting to know each other over like the past 3 years. I'm telling you, Liz is the real deal. She's so ethical, she's so professional. She has been extremely successful as a divorce attorney because she has good outcomes in her cases. She's been doing this since 1993, and I can't think of somebody I would trust more. If you want to learn more about Liz, you can find her at wakemanlaw.net, and you can also find her in the Trusted Professional section of Divorced Girl Smiling. Welcome back to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff, and I'm your host. Are you going through a painful breakup? Of course you are. Why else would you be listening to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast? We are talking about 9 things you might be feeling and how to cope. My guest is divorce coach Jenine Marie Powell. She's been a divorce coach for a long time. Jenine went through a divorce. She has kids. She's a mom. And she's seen so many people, her clients, going through a divorce and feeling the pain of breaking up, basically. All right, the next thing that people feel, this is kind of like people are going to be like, oh, of course, it's a given. You're feeling sadness. So
Mhm.
what is the sadness from? Maybe there's a part of you feeling kind of excited. You wanted the divorce for 5 years, like you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
What is there to be sad about?
Yeah. And it's interesting because there is so much sadness. And even if you know on a cognitive level, even if you know I'm better off with this, I'm better off without this person, I'll be happier without them, I'm excited about my future without them. Even if you know all those things, and sometimes you don't know all those things, but I'm saying either way, there will still be sadness because there is still so much loss. Right, and we talk about all the different losses, right? It's the loss of your partner, the loss of your significant other, the loss of being part of a couple. There's the loss of the part of yourself that identified as a husband or a wife, the part of yourself that was used to being a couple. There's the loss of, the traditional family unit. There's the loss of just the rituals and schedules and the daily activities that are now different. There's the law, and this one I think is really huge. Sometimes the loss of the dreams that you had, right? The visions and dreams that you had for your life and for your future. So that needs to be mourned as well. So I think it's important, and people sometimes confuse the sadness for regret, right? Oh, I'm so sad. I must have made a mistake. This divorce was the wrong decision because I'm so sad. And recognizing sadness doesn't equate to a mistake or to regret. Sadness is just, realizing the loss, right? And recognizing that when a marriage ends, there's a grieving period. You're going to be mourning. You're going to be mourning the life that you had, or the life you thought you had, or the life that you had wanted. So again, back to that adjustment period. And I think it's so important for people to allow themselves to grieve. Allow it, right? We sometimes resist it, but just really, actually that goes towards all of our feelings. Whatever we're feeling, allow it.
I know women and they say things like, I'll be fine, I'll be fine. And they do
Yeah.
take the time to sit down. Like it's okay to like cry in bed, cry in the shower,
Mhm.
cry
Yeah.
whenever you need to cry. That's, I believe, very, very healthy and it's like a
Yes.
tool that you need to move on. Like, you need
Mhm.
to get through that. Um, I was gonna say something else about sadness. People might be listening who are sad to leave their home. They're sad to give up a wealthy lifestyle. Um, I wanna tell me if you agree with me, Janine, I cannot count the number of women, including myself, who gave up a wealthier lifestyle and are so happy and so much happier with less. It's scary to think about it,
Yeah.
but I was the most unhappy when I had the most money. I would say
Mm,
that about myself.
yeah. Yeah, I hear that too, Jackie, right? Because again, there's no price tag or cost or financial thing that we can put on our happiness, our freedom, our joy, returning to our authentic self. All those things are so priceless, right? When we get to dive into, who we can be or who we are, what we want to become now that we have this newfound freedom or all the things that maybe had kept us, stifled within our marriage.
And getting out of the toxicity. I
Yes.
mean, it's
Yeah.
so worth every penny.
Yeah.
To really realize how little you can I'm not saying to people who are listening that you're gonna be poor, you're gonna struggle for
Yeah.
money. It's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying you might realize, like, "I didn't need all that. I'm so
Mm,
much happier. There's so many other things making me happy that I don't
yeah.
need all of that." All right, let's move on to anger. This is
Yeah.
a big one.
That is a big one.
People getting divorced often experience so much anger, which actually might not even be anger. It might be like a shield for fear
Yes.
or pain or resentment or what else?
Yeah. Anger can be a lot of things, and I do think that's one of the biggest things. I think people, experience such intense anger, and it's an unfamiliar feeling, I think, for most of us. In other parts of our lives, oh, maybe we get angry and the feeling it's over in 5 minutes or whatever, right? But the divorce anger seems to, like, reach a different level. And I've had clients come to me where it's scary because the feeling is so intense, it almost feels like rage, and people don't know how to process an emotion that's that intense. And it frightens us, right? This anger, where is it coming from? How do I release it? What do I do with it? And it is an uncomfortable emotion, which and I also like what you said, that when somebody asks you how you feel, it's like happy, sad, angry, mad, and we stop at that. And it's so much more beyond that. And I love what you said. Is anger jealousy? Is it resentment? Is it overwhelm? Is it, like, it can be so many other things. And I encourage everybody that I work with to Google the feelings wheel. And there's so many different variations of it, but it gives you vocabulary that encompasses so many other emotions. And when we can pinpoint where the anger is stemming from, it can provide some clarity with it for us. And again, with all of our emotions, if we approach them with curiosity. So when we look at anger, and if we approach it with curiosity, we recognize that our anger is actually, in many ways, a self preservation tool, right? Because I'm so angry. And if we look at why we're so angry, and get curious about it. What is our anger telling us? It's telling us we were treated unfairly. It was telling us we were disrespected. It was telling us that a situation is unjust, right? So our anger is delivering us those important messages, which are important to receive because it'll prevent us from repeating patterns and getting into similar situations, right? So our anger is really protecting us from all those things that we saw as unjust or unfair or abusive. So when my clients are angry, I say, "Good for you, right? Good for you. Your anger is telling you something. You have every right to be angry."
I love that. Okay, I kind of have a lot to say about anger. First, I want to talk about your advice about anger as it pertains to when someone's ex is angry at them. So, if you listen to what Janine just said, and you see that your anger is stemming from all these other different things, when next time your ex is angry and treats you really like in a mean way, or explodes at you, or isn't speaking to you and you don't even know why, It's because he's angry and he doesn't know where it's coming from either. If he's all of a sudden angry, how could it be with you when you haven't seen him or talked to him in a
Mhm.
week? So you can't take it personally. And the reason I'm sharing this is because if you're willing to be open-minded and curious, like Janine said about the anger, then you won't be so upset with your ex being mean or angry towards you because you'll be like, "Okay, it has nothing to do with me. It's probably
Yeah.
something else." Maybe he just broke up with his girlfriend, or maybe he got bad news at work, and then he just decided he was gonna be mean to you because you caused all this,
Yeah.
5 years ago or whatever it was. So, you have to
Yeah.
take your ex's anger in a curious way as well.
Yeah. I
Other
wanna
thing.
even take that a step further if I can, Jackie.
Okay.
Say if he really is angry at me, so what? I'm not responsible for another adult's emotions, right? So can we separate ourselves, right? If he's angry, let him be angry. It's not my problem anymore, right? And I think so often we are so uncomfortable when other people dislike us or when other people are angry at us or when other people, say something that like and just, you know, let them have their emotions and they're a grown up and they can process their own anger. I don't have to attach that to me. Right. So recognizing that because so often it's so uncomfortable for other people's emotions are so uncomfortable to us. And recognizing that it doesn't have to like intrude on how we feel. Right. You want to be angry. I'm okay. You can be angry. I don't have to let that affect me. And
And
it's
how
a
about
hard thing to learn, by the way, like,
okay,
it's
I
so
love
easy,
this so
but it's
much.
a hard thing to yes.
Okay, but also how about and let him be angry because I've done nothing. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not saying you're gonna say, "Oh, I'm perfect, I never did anything wrong," but I
Right.
didn't do anything for him to be mean to me right now, so I'm letting it go. Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing I was gonna say is that a lot it's anger if you're going through a breakup. It's not just that you're angry with your ex. You might be angry with yourself
Mm.
making a poor choice. You might be
Yeah.
angry with God. You know how many times I said, "Why did God do this to me?" You know what,
Mhm.
Jackie? God didn't do this to you. You did it to yourself. God didn't pick your husband or your
No.
boyfriend for you. You did it. But it's easy to blame other people, be angry at the world. I'm angry. Why do all my girlfriends have these perfect marriages and mine ended in
Mm.
divorce? So anger isn't just at your ex, it could be at
Yeah.
anything.
And I so thank you for bringing that up, Jackie, because so many of the clients I work with are so mad at themselves, right? What's wrong with me that I didn't see this sooner? What's wrong with me that I ignored all these red flags? What's wrong with me that I stayed here and put up with X, Y, and Z, right? So you're right. There's a lot of anger directed at self. And I always say on any healing journey, we have to approach ourselves with kindness, with compassion, with grace, with forgiveness, with patience, right? When we made these decisions, and this sounds so cliche, but a lot of times we were making decisions that we thought were the best for us at the time, right? And in hindsight, of course, we can see all these things, right? But relationships are very complex, and it doesn't do us any good to beat ourselves up. So I think it's important to take ownership and accountability and have some self awareness, but we can do that in a gentle way where we're not constantly beating ourselves up.
Love it. And people are so hard on themselves in
They
divorce.
really
They
are.
shouldn't
They
be.
really are.
And God loves you and God forgives you. So forgive yourself and say,
Yes.
life is a learning journey. And okay,
Mhm.
I made a mistake. Didn't think it was a
Yeah.
mistake at the time. I know it now. And I'm going to forgive myself and love myself. And I deserve a good future.
Yeah, I love that. Yes.
Okay, next one is fear and anxiety. This is big in breakups.
Yeah, yeah, and we talked about that a little bit too, the fear of the unknown, right? We gravitate so strongly to what's familiar that we will stay in a dysfunctional relationship for a long time because it's familiar. So that fear of the unknown terrifies us, right? And again, what if we can have that switch to instead of being terrified, being a little bit excited, right? Oh, what's next? What's new? And being open to new possibilities and new opportunities. And it's okay if you're a little nervous, right? We think like, oh gosh, no, I can't be nervous. But yeah, it's okay to be nervous. That's natural, right? When we're trying something new, when we're doing something unfamiliar, and again, all these big changes, like you said, we might be living in a different place. Our finances are affected, our friendships may be affected, our extended family, like so there's so much change all at once that it can be very provoke a lot of anxiety. And I go right back to the importance of what I mentioned early, those self-care tips and learning how to emotionally regulate and having a supportive community around us.
Right. And the thing is, when I think about fear and anxiety of somebody who's like newly broken up, this is, I don't know about you, Janine, but I was like, when I'd end these relationships, I'm never going to find anyone. He's
Mm,
going to want me at 45, whatever.
yeah, yeah.
I'm going to be alone forever. I'm going to be old and alone. Um, I don't know. The fear of, uh, what if I made a mistake? What if I want him back in 3 months and he's already moved on and he's not available for me and doesn't wanna get back? What if he realizes that it was the best thing? You could do the what if all day
Yeah.
long, and all it will do is cause you more anxiety and more fear.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? One tip that I think works really well for fear and anxiety: create a worry journal. Write down everything that you're worried about. Write it all down. And then anything that you have no control over, just cross it out. Right? Because we worry about so many things we have no control over. So you have your worry journal. Let's just say there's 20 things on there. When you cross out everything you have no control over, you know, uh, you might be left with five. And what we find out, most of the things that we're worried about never actually happened. And the ones that do happen, we handle them much better than we would have ever expected, or they're not quite as difficult as we had expected. So it's kind of an interesting concept, right? To have it in writing, see everything we're worried about, cross out what we have no control over, and the things that are left, like I said, most of them never even come to fruition. And the ones that do, we can prepare for and take action. And like I said, most of the time, I think we're pleasantly surprised how we pull through, right? That's where our resilience comes in.
Janine, I love it. Okay, I want to end this on a positive note. We're sort of
Yes.
out of time, but we're gonna go a little over because I want to include one more emotion that I want people to hear. So let's talk about hope.
Mm.
So, what do you think? Do you think that people who are going through a breakup do carry a small piece of hope in their back pocket? Because I really hope so, because you have
Yeah.
so much to look forward to, you just can't see it yet.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I always believe there's a silver lining, right? And again, in our world, we want that immediate gratification or that immediate happiness, and holding out that hope that it's going to come, right? And we need to be patient and finding beauty and happiness and joy and fulfillment in small moments. Right. Like, right. It might be too daunting to think like, oh my gosh, sooner, I'm hopeful I'm going to find my Prince Charming next year. We don't have to hope that big, right? We can start off small. Like, I hope I get through this day and laugh a couple of times. I hope I get through this day and can see some beauty all around me. I hope I get through this day and can express my gratitude for the things that are wonderful in my life. So sometimes the hope starts with little things on a daily basis, and then I think over time, we open up to more hopeful things in our future. And I think that breakups are one of the most painful things that we can go through, but I also think that we get many gifts along the way, rediscovering ourselves, getting back in tune with our authentic selves. And that opens so many beautiful doors when we can once again live in alignment with who we are, who we're meant to be.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I was just gonna say one more thing. If you feel guilty that you're feeling a little bit excited and happy, don't, because this is why you're doing this. And it's
Mm,
natural for us to wanna be happy. So you're allowed to feel a little bit excited. It doesn't mean that you're,
Yes.
you know, a terrible person. You're human.
Yeah, yeah. I love the word that you use, allow. Allow ourselves, and just this whole segment was on emotions. So allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling. Give yourself permission. The tough emotions, the fun emotions, the exciting emotions. Give yourself permission. Allow yourself to feel the feelings.
Jenine Marie Powell, thank you so much for being on the show. I loved this conversation.
Yes, always a pleasure, Jackie. Thank you.
If you want to have a consult with Jenine, you can find her at sosdivorcecoach.com. You can also find her in the trusted professional section of Divorced Girl Smiling by going to divorcedgirlsmiling.com. And you can also go to Divorced Girl Smiling to listen to more podcasts, read articles, or sign up for my free consult, which is basically a 30-minute consult. You tell me your story, I listen, I ask you some questions, and then I recommend professionals I think would be a good fit for you. Everything from financial advisors to mediators, real estate agents, divorce lawyers, and of course, coaches. So thank you so much for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you real soon.